Welcome, everyone. Happy Thursday. We'll get started in just a moment. In the meantime, be sure to pull up that chat pod, pull up your Q&A pod. Say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're from. Increase your networking. You can share your LinkedIns. We're going to get started in just a moment. Let people come in. Welcome. If you're just joining, we're getting set up with that Q&A pod, the chat. Be sure to change over to everyone if you want to share where you're from. Arius is first with sharing their LinkedIn. All right, I know people are still joining, but I do want to kick us off and make sure that we have enough time. So I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. So good morning or good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, From Brief to Boardroom, Scaling Decisions with AI-Powered Research. We encourage you to stay active in the chat and enjoy the ongoing conversation. As always, please remember to be respectful of everyone participating. Please feel free to enter questions into that Q&A pod during the presentation. Some questions may require a follow-up from a different team member, but we'll make sure we get back to you if your questions are not answered live. We'll open questions at the end. Recording of today's webinar will be sent via Zoom tomorrow. Closed caption is available on the Zoom platform. Simply click on the CC on your screen to launch. And I'd like to welcome today's presenter. Kevin Rowe is the Vice President of Research and Insights at Fuel Cycle. His background conducting large-scale research initiatives for U.S. government agencies and Fortune 500 companies drew him to Fuel Cycle in 2015. He began at Fuel Cycle leading the client success team and specializes in research for retail, CPG, technology, and healthcare customers. In his current role, Kevin leads the Research and Insights division focused on solving the client's most difficult challenges through Fuel Cycle's research engine. Kevin studies psychology and communication at USC. I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Kevin, as Jennifer mentioned, and I'm here to talk about, I think, one of the most important topics that I've seen in my career that I think a lot of us are facing, which is what do we do with AI and how do we kind of interpret, analyze, and understand what it can do for us, maybe where some of the limitations are. And I'm really excited to share with you some of the lessons I think that we've learned in the development of our own suite of AI tools and in our utilization, in our testing, which can hopefully guide you in your decision making. Let me go to the next slide. This is working. All right. So today on our webinar, I'll be covering the Autonomous Insights suite, but Autonomous Insights generally, and all the ways that we've been developing and bringing AI agents into the fold into our day-to-day execution of research. I oversee a team that handles all different types of research, qual and quant, kind of full stack, and really thinking about how do we plug in AI at different components in different parts of the workflow. How do we make it work for the breadth of our customers has been kind of at the forefront of all of our thoughts and thinking. But for you, what this means is I really want you to think about how you can consider AI, how it can be leveraged in your workflows. I hope to share some of the must-haves on your checklists as you're evaluating, sharing some of our real-world outcomes from our testing of the Fuel Cycle Autonomous Insights platform. And I was thinking about this because this is actually really good timing. This is my second webinar with the Insights Association. The first was about 6 months ago, which coincided directly with our testing and evaluation of when we were originally building a lot of these AI agents. That session was all about getting prepared for AI as a research team, as an organization. But now, as Fuel Cycles kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together, I have a slightly different lens to share. And that's really what's worked best for our research team as we integrate AI. What are those must-haves? What are the things that are really important for the future in consideration, considering that what we have today is going to look really different in a year or in 2 years or in 5 years. So go to the next slide. So for background, a little over 2 years ago, our chairman called a day-long working session to understand and discuss ChatGPT at the time and its impact on market research. That was a discussion quickly broadening into a task force that connected multiple departments, including me on the research team and our product and engineering teams, because we realized that, this was such an amazing opportunity to reshape the way we conduct market research. And so step by step, we've developed our own connected agentic AI insights system called Autonomous Insights. And we've been dogfooding our agents along the way. I've been fortunate enough to been able to be a part of the development cycle, kind of giving feedback to make the tools more useful on my team's end. And I will share with you really quickly just what these agents kind of look like and what they mean in context. I assume that many of you, most of you, all of you know what a traditional kind of market research project and process looks like. Sometimes it's a request to help solve a question. Sometimes it might just be jumping in to help, refine an idea. Could be big, could be small. I think when we were thinking about an autonomous insights suite or package, we really wanted to cover everything from the beginning to the end, and beginning maybe even a step before what we typically get on the market research side, which is signals. What are those signals, whether they're online or in your sales data or whatever it might be, that might trigger research? So we're not necessarily receiving and waiting, but we're actually going out and pushing for doing the research. This also includes things like a deep researcher. So if you have an idea of something that you want to do research on, let's do some desk research and get some background. All the way through taking that idea, designing a survey, programming it automatically, running our data quality checks via AI, and then, of course, all of the qual and quant reporting. So this platform is really a series of connected agents designed by researchers for researchers to do a specific set of tasks that mirror that flow. But our Chief Strategy Officer, Rick Kelly, and the architect of a lot of these systems, likes to remind me that AI is a show, don't tell technology. So if you'll allow me, I'll just switch gears really quickly and do a really fast demo here to show you what I'm talking about, because it does give context for the rest of this presentation. I hope that my new screen is sharing. Normally I can see people, but I'm just going to assume that it's okay. So this is a demo that pulls together some of the agents that we've developed, and it's really illustrative in a lot of ways, but it starts with a business question. And so I just kind of threw something together here in preparation for this meeting. And when you hit search, it runs. And it will then draw additional context here. So you'll forgive me, I actually hit the go button on this a little early, but you can see that there are sources here. There's information related to the research that we want to do. And then it takes all of that, the business question we have, the additional context that it drew, to generate research objectives. And it's really important here to be able to edit these to say, this isn't quite right, or I'd like to move this up or down, because that human in the loop mechanism in motion is actually what drives better research in the long run. And it cuts down on the amount of time. You're not trying to hit a moving target with a prompt. Then continuing to methodology, you can see that it's recommending an UNA or ANU like I had requested. You can click a button, and it takes a little bit longer here, but this is going to generate a survey for me. The one thing that I wanted to call out is not necessarily what this is doing, but more that each of these agents are responsible for a component within the research process, as I showed you on that previous slide in my PowerPoint presentation. Agents are an extremely powerful way to conduct research because they're narrow and limited in scope, but it also allows us to kind of define what that user experience, what information and variables need to be accounted for, so we don't get drift. And I think that that's something that, whether it's hallucination or drift, it's a big problem. But by narrowing the scope, it allows you to kind of whittle down and more accurately target what you're going to do. Then going into audience selection, you can pick which audience. This is just connected to a demo community. Then I can publish. And now automatically the survey that was generated before, which I could have edited, is now generated into a survey format ready to launch. And then you can come down and find your data. So let me switch gears again, because the demo is not the important part, but more getting to, all right, sorry for all the whiplash here. So hopefully that worked, swapping back to the presentation. I'd like to focus on the 4 key points that we've learned that are required for an AI system to operate most effectively and efficiently. The first is the importance of AI agents. For those of you who may not know, AI agents are specialized software systems designed to complete an individual task on its own. What we found is that these agents outperform generalized LLM tools because they focus on very discrete tasks. It allows for multiple stages of feedback and evaluation and tend to output more consistent deliverables. As I mentioned just a second ago, a major benefit of these agents is that the specialization, narrowing of the task can help prevent drift, as the prompt and the code behind the scenes can account for more information, more variables, but also reduce noise. The next is having those agents work together, and it's what I refer to as a connected system. Connecting to each other and passing information along is a required component for a seamless workflow. And importantly, it's not just that it's faster or easier, it's actually that it maintains context throughout each stage. Those kind of handshakes make sure that we're not having to redefine our inputs every single time, thus limiting the amount of kind of error or drift that we might experience. One more thing that I'll say about agents, and I think that's really cool, is that while these agents can all work together, it's also possible for individual agents to be used maybe out of context or out of the workflow. So if you have a data set that you're interested in using, you can actually just pull that in and you can generate a report with it. You don't have to hit every step along the way. Moving in and out of that workflow kind of reflects, I think, the reality of time and speed and what's necessary to deliver to our stakeholders or the people that are requesting. Because not every project needs a full report. Maybe you just need tabs. Maybe you have data that was done elsewhere that you'd like to generate and run through a system. So being able to handle all those steps is important. The next piece is enterprise personalization. And this is actually my favorite part about the future of AI. I think the ability to incorporate a company's overarching strategy, to retain and reference that information as it generates new research, or the ability to go backwards in time to reference previous projects and previous research outcomes to inform new work and or the insights that you're kind of delving into. This is important from a research generation standpoint. Have we run similar research in the past, and should we keep the same questions, have the same order, the same structure, the same scales to keep things more comparable? But also is important from an outcomes perspective. I think so often we see research get shelved and it's difficult to reference or remember what was done, who did it, where does it live, I can't find it. I think that's maybe a common problem. But being able to automatically or very easily search in a database and pull information forward will improve insights. It will add color, context, and even weight to the deliverables. The last piece on what's required for me is about validity, reliability, and observability. I mean, Obviously, consistency and accuracy are table stakes for any AI tool. The same prompt, the same information that you're inputting should generate the same study, the same outcome. But equally important is the observability aspect. And I'll get into this a little bit more in a bit about kind of human in the loop. But being able to review the findings and the outcomes, have citations, be able to reference where it's pulling that information from, has been critical in our testing. Being able to point back to it, to be able to pull that quote, to see how it got to that conclusion gives our team, my team, more confidence in what we're delivering. So if that's what's required, I'd like to talk about some interesting things that we noticed that might help you as well. One major drum that we kept beating in our brainstorm and development was the importance of research objectives at every level. A project is only as good as the research brief, or a product is only as good as its requirements. An AI agent should be able to generate really strong objectives based on a statement or series of statements and have an idea or an angle how to fulfill that based on either historical methodological experience or guidelines and rails that are put in place for that agent. But I think it's also equally important that you should be able to go backwards as well. You should be able to infer objectives from the data. So thinking about it, if you have a CSV file with all of your questions that you ran in a survey, being able to load that in, have those objectives generated, be able to edit that, and then move forward through the process, whether that's reporting, any sort of analytics or insights. Again, I think that speaks kind of to the enter and exit at any point through a workflow. The important part of the objectives is that they define the outcome. So having a very clean path that you trust is so central and so key. So I would definitely flag that as, verifying, especially as you're testing or considering or evaluating what's out there. Next is observability, editability, and flexibility. I think AI won't always get it right. I think entries that are put into the system may fall short. Processing may just not be exactly what you need. But being able to edit, change, and push that forward through the process is super critical. Human in the loop in this way is really necessary, both from a verification standpoint, but also from reducing kind of the rework and trying to hit a moving target. I spoke to vectorization and referenceability when I was speaking about kind of enterprise personalization, but this is all about how is data stored? The level of data that's stored for future reference, objectives that are tied to projects that are run and tied to individual users. There's a lot of different levels to the metadata and or the data coming into and out of a project that should be referenceable in the future. We have a chance to redo some of, I think, some of the major problems with insights at an organizational level that things aren't logged very well or it's hard to find. So leveraging AI in that way, I think is a really critical and really exciting part of all of this is the more that you run through AI systems and the more that you leverage autonomous insights, for example, the better and stronger your outcomes become. The last is a phrase that we use in Fuel Cycle called agents don't do math. Agents they're good at, I guess, kind of finding patterns in very simple calculation, but they tend to struggle with more complex math. So agents, though, can be connected to tools that do the processing and computing and then return back to the agent for interpretation. So a good example of this is in our crosstab builder and analyzer. There's a separate code in Python which crunches the numbers and passes it back to the agent for evaluation. I think that when I was experimenting with LLMs in the beginning, I was trying to get it to do something that was outside of the realm and the scope. And I found that it was missing more often than it was hitting. And this was the reason why. It's because you can't always trust the math from an LLM. You have to make sure that the numbers are being crunched in the appropriate way. And then the LLM or the agent can pick it back up to interpret. So what to think about next? We've been testing and using our own agents, and what we found is that agents are incredibly good at generating quickly, accurately, but some level of refinement and checking with a researcher improves outcomes almost all the time. So our testing was done to take a project or a task, how long it took us to do it manually, what the outcome was, and then compare that directly to someone else generating it through our agents. And to understand, well, okay, how long did it take to run it through the actual agent itself? And how much time was required for us to kind of have some form of manual intervention? And our tests are showing that between 60 to 95% of time savings compared to manual tasks. The most savings I think we see in tasks or research motions that are binary, things that are done correctly or incorrectly. Like survey programming is a great example. And the kind of lower end of that time savings is on things like insights generation, some thematic analysis requires some refinement. That said, we've been able to do things like code 32,000 open ends in 4 languages in a matter of minutes. So I think it kind of speaks to what's possible and what is out there. There's definitely a lot of upside. Um, I wanted to point out that even though we have developed our own set of agents and what we're working on, I think that there's also more out there. There's more to connect, meaning moving beyond what you've done previously or even moving beyond some desk research. It's really about getting to a point where we can ingest, kind of carry forward, pull in multiple sources of data, external, including things like your CRM data, real world data, sales data, ERP data, whatever it might be. So having that openness and flexibility and connection, at least a path towards it. I think that's where we're headed. I think that's where we'll be. Um, I'll also add that kind of getting in early is it's always better, I think, to try. Just like it's a show don't tell type of technology, I think you really need to get your hands on it to be able to run your own tests in whatever format that looks like. I definitely would recommend kind of the parallel testing, the side by side for something that was completed, just to give you a better sense of efficiency, of accuracy, so that you have something to grade against. We keep a spreadsheet for that continuously. So if anyone wants what that looks like, we can connect as well. The last piece is on preempting pain points or bottlenecks. When we think about what AI can do, it's very exciting, but it's also very overwhelming for me and for many, I'm sure. Thinking about as the cost of research or the amount of the cost of research goes down or the amount of research that we can do goes up, what are our bottlenecks or potential pain points with that? As access to market research and research technology and methodologies maybe gets a little easier, what does that mean? So planning for the organizational adoption and considering the implications of AI, it could be things like if we are able to run 5 times as much research, is there a sample consideration, right? Is synthetic audiences a part of that? Is non-researchers, expectations, everything that you can think of, it's worth kind of talking about and working through, especially when you start to settle in on the direction that you as an organization want to go with. So, I didn't include this here, but I wanted to share a quote that our chairman actually brought up in our think tank this week. It's that imagination is more important than knowledge. And there's more to the quote. But I think that's so interesting and so true because of what we've been able to do in a really short amount of time and what we've been able to accomplish and see. It feels like it's only a matter of imagining and trying to design and build the system that you're interested in. And it's a lot of it is absolutely possible. So finding a partner who can build with you, for example, it blew my mind. I saw 100-slide PowerPoint get generated in the correct formatting, in the correct template, with the right everything in less than 30 minutes from a CSV file. So I don't know, just an aside, but from a key takeaways perspective, I will reiterate that specialized and meaning agents beats generalized LLMs every time. These purpose-built AI agents outperform LLMs in accuracy due to more precise code. The AI tools themselves need to be part of a complete and connected system. From what I see, reporting is typically half of a typical project time and length. So being able to solve it from the beginning to the end, not just getting to data or not just getting to programming or not just having one component. That interoperability, that connectedness, I think is really important. AI agents perform best with human in the loop, so making sure that you have that observability, that ability to get in there and connect, it is absolutely critical. I cannot underscore that enough. Otherwise, we're kind of guessing in some ways. We have to take its word for it rather. So having citations, being able to reference what it's pulling, being able to pull those quotes or data points yourself, I think will not only build confidence, but I think it's good from a hygiene and a process standpoint as well. And the last piece for me, knowing what I've seen in terms of the ease and the speed with which research can be conducted, it's that research will increasingly be always on. So that means that, it might be something happening in the news that sparks a significant research motion, or it could be more automated chaining. So I don't know if you're like me, but kind of done a report and finished a project and you wish you had asked a certain question after seeing the crosstabs. Reducing the barriers towards and the costs, frankly, towards doing research means that we're going to be able to do more frequently and more quickly. So getting prepared for that, I think it's a different type of structure in terms of your organization, in terms of your support and who can do that. But yeah, that's all I had. If I would encourage you if you'd like to connect, I would love to speak with you further. It's my first initial KROW@fuelcycle.com. You can always reach out to our sales team with the email here or go to our website as well. But thank you
Thank
all
you,
for joining.
Kevin.
Yeah.
We have tons of questions. You ready?
Oh boy. Yes.
Okay. What sources is your AI using to respond to your original question?
What sources is your AI using? Original question. Okay. I assume that that's referencing the demo part of this. There's two parts of it. One is I entered the business objective. It went out and took the key idea or the key theme from that question and did an external sweep on the internet, looking for articles and sources to kind of give more background research to what it is that I was looking to accomplish. It then combined that with the business objective that I wrote in to create research objectives. Here, let me see if I can swap my screen share actually. So it took my business objective and tried to prioritize it in terms of what was the key primary objective, the secondary objective, and other areas to explore. And then it takes that information and passes it along towards a methodology. Once it settles on a methodology, then it has a frame to start asking the important questions to address each of those previous objectives. So some of it is external, some of it is our frames and what we've done, and yeah, I don't know. Sorry, I think I just saw that question disappear, but okay.
You ready?
I think so.
Do you have any recommendations for sources to build AI agents easily and efficiently?
I think I'll have to get back to you on that from a more product and engineering perspective. But certainly I can follow up with that.
Great. How are you getting agents to read CSV and Excel files, as this is a big challenge for LLMs?
Yeah. It certainly is, and especially when you're thinking about the different question formats and the ways that survey tools, for example, can export questions, right? Multi-select across multiple columns, etc. Two things. First is that the agent itself has to be designed to understand and read and look for those questions to be able to start categorizing against objectives. So whether or not you have a 100 question or 10 question or one question, it needs to know where to look in order to understand what the question is being asked and how does that relate to your previously provided objectives of what you're trying to accomplish. The second is formatting. There, that is a challenge because sometimes you can get special characters and it goes all crazy. Sometimes you have numerical values as opposed to selected answers. You need to be able to accommodate that and kind of think through all of the different potential inputs, and those were just bumps that we hit along the way, for example.
If agents don't do math, how can they analyze results?
Okay, good question. So agents are really good at pattern recognition, really good at doing comparisons. So for example, the math is returning in a crosstab is a table. It's able to show you this is the information, the banners and your stubs or your rows, your columns. And this is what's significant or not significant. These are the percentages. And so the agent then can actually use either significance, large values, or if we define segments of interest, go actually hunt within those columns. So we're essentially breaking it in two steps. First is the math is done and returned. Second is it's, numbers are, it's easier to say this is bigger than this, or this is significant compared to this when it's already defined for you, you being the agent.
How is Fuel Cycle leveraging AI to make survey experience better for participants?
Yeah, and this is such a good question. I think AI agents are, we are also a community provider. We have a captive audience and a group of people that we can speak to on a regular basis. One of the issues that we are addressing with this is actually in kind of length and fatigue. When you have, one shot to get an audience and you're paying X number of dollars for a CPI, you're trying to sometimes, I don't know if this is everyone, but trying to jam a lot of questions in there, get your money's worth and figure that out. I think one natural way that LLMs or agents help in this process is that it reduces the cost in a lot of ways towards conducting research. So you can make your surveys a little tighter, a little cleaner, and with a little bit of a better user experience. The flip side of that is, doing the sort of testing and evaluation of drop-off, fraud, of things like that. So there's the data quality and or the kind of performance metrics that you're able to do. But that's a little bit after the fact. It's a great question. Yeah.
What does this look like for qual analysis?
Oh yeah. Qual is fantastic. Essentially, what you can do with Qual is you can upload a CSV file. You can specify which column is the open end of interest. You can specify which subgroups you'd like to cut that by. And then what it does is it starts from kind of the smallest component. I like to think of them as meaning segments. That was something that I was trained on. But going back and analyzing on a cell by cell basis, what is the key idea and what are the tags that need applied? And then it can aggregate those tags. You're able to, of course, have your own code frame and enter it, or it will recommend one, and then it will jam through it. And then from there, it can aggregate numbers and percents. It's super cool, super fast, and if you're interested, I'd love to be able to show you.
For a survey, how does it handle sample and how does it handle unsubscribes?
For a survey, how does it handle sample? How does it handle it? Oh, okay. I went quickly through this, but there are two pathways for target audience. One is the kind of fuel cycle community, so that would be anything integrated to a stand-up community that we have with a captive audience. The other is what we call our audience network, essentially very similar to how you might go about finding research participants today via GenPop, panel providers, etc. I'm sorry, I forget the second part. Now the question disappeared.
Oh, I can get it.
How does it handle unsubscribes? Not entirely sure what that means, unsubscribes, but if it means maybe people who term or drop or don't complete, that's all, based on our redirects and our pixel tracking. So just depending on the way we want to handle that. It's very similar to, essentially all of this is in the design component. Everything that you're already doing with any survey tool is very similar from a user experience, right? From a setup through the way that the participant experiences the information.
Great. Oh, this is fun. What what are your projections on the percent of industry jobs that will eliminate? 50 or 75%?
Yeah, it's a scary question, a good question. I don't have an answer for this. My bet though is that a few things will happen. One is that as cost compression occurs, more research will be conducted um, with higher and faster expectations. And human in the loop will need to be maintained. So project timelines may go down, project costs may go down, but project volume may increase. And so being able to really understand how systems work, how prompting and or what you're putting in there gets you the answers you need. Um, Knowing how to operate a system really efficiently, I think means that there's maybe more opportunity in the future, not less. But I couldn't give you a projection on headcount.
Sorry, I'm trying to summarize. I see a number of firms employing people to check AI agent
Yes.
responses to questions for accuracy. Are they similar efforts going on in the insight space?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about, and I mentioned this earlier, kind of binary research motions, data quality is a very straightforward one in a lot of ways, right? Your typical checks, whether it's IP straight lining, AI pasting, that's all what we have today. I think that there's maybe even a step further that we're working on, which is internal consistency. And this is especially true for our community members whom we have a relationship with and have information on. Being able to cross-reference what they've said historically and what they say today um, can make a difference.
Um, if we're going to build our own agents, what advice do you have? Your top things, they say 10, we should do to build the most productive and comprehensive agents. That's a lot of
Sorry,
top things.
yeah, no, I didn't mean to. I'm not shortchanging this question. I would say that for building your own agent, I would say start with the narrowest outcome you can think of. That is the easiest for you to check. So, it could be a very simple task that you're looking to build. Um, and then you can always, as you get better or as that works, you can always try to add more to it. But I think start as narrow as you can and make that work and get pumped up and run around and then see what you can do next. Just the top one thing, sorry.
We'd be here all day. These types of AI agents are flooding the market research space. I attended as many of these informative webinars as I can just to stay educated.
Mhm,
Here's a candid and thought question.
mhm.
How is your platform different or better than your competitors?
Yeah. And I like you, Christopher, have tried to stay on top of everything that's happening in the industry. I think it's such an important topic. Okay, a couple things. One, we started and have been working on this for a very long time, and we have both the kind of methodological, historical context for running research, unlike maybe some that are starting up now and kind of popping up. This is a suite built by researchers on our product team, by my contribution, my team's contribution. Um, but I think maybe more importantly, we've always prided ourselves on being a very agile tech company, meaning our engineers sit right next to us in our office, and when we want to see something done, we can go walk over there and we can make it happen. And I think that if you take that same mentality and you apply it times 10 on AI, we've been able to do a lot very quickly, make adjustments, build and partner with our clients who are in beta projects with us, and kind of iterate very quickly. So yeah, I mean, apart from, of course, sorry, I forgot to mention like enterprise security, with everything down to the wire. So um, yeah.
Do
Uh,
you use synthetic data in any way?
Not today. Synthetic data is something that we're very interested and are currently exploring, not something that we are rolling out or using.
What about privacy and security protocols?
Yeah, so this is our own system. It doesn't, none of the data leaves. It's all within our kind of SOC 2, high trust, all the certifications you might imagine. And it's individually instanced by company. So it's not something that's kind of spreading and sharing. It's all kind of walled.
There's a lot of questions in this next one.
Oh boy.
Let's see if I can. The system, would it be enterprise level,
Yep.
limited to an organization?
I'm reading it
Uh,
right now. Yeah, so it does GDPR applies. It does protect an organization's content. It doesn't ingest research from an external source. Everything that we've built has been provided and furnished by us. It doesn't train any external models, for example. How to affirm results are accurate. I think the best way to do this is through citation. And I kind of touched on this a few points, being able to see the kind of outcomes and findings and then how it got there. Show your work, right? APA citations. Um, does it enable creation of variables for results? You. No, not that I'm aware of, actually. Don't hold me to that. Right now, what we do is we typically will either ask all of our variables, our profiling, whatever it might be, in a survey for a Gen Pop audience, or we might have all of that already collected via our P2 engine, which is our progressive profiling on our community side. So it carries everything in. It's all available. It's all part of the database. So you can build those variables into your research. You can cut by whatever you want to cut. There's a part of that. Um, but I don't think that within Flow, it can't just create something from nothing. Um, yeah.
and I
Um,
believe we addressed Dinah's
okay. Oh, sorry.
question on how your platform is unique because anyone can take business objectives and put them into AI to match with a methodology.
For sure. Um, One really quickly, I'd just like to go back. Sounds enticing, but how to build trust. I think the only way that you build trust is with experience, with demos, getting your hands on it, being able to test it yourself, being able to verify yourself. Um, so yeah.
Well, good. I think those were a lot of questions, Kevin. So, and
That's a
we
lot of
got through
questions.
them all. Do you have any other final thoughts? Anything else you want to share before we give some time back to your audience today?
No, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to connect with you all. I think this is super cool. I'm really excited about this, really bullish. And I hope that you reach out and explore more because I think that we can build something really great.
Great. Well, you do still have the slide up. So if you want to reach out to Fuel Cycle, you can do it at sales@fuelcycle.com or check them out on www.fuelcycle.com for more stuff on their website. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, our audience, for a great presentation. The recording will be sent out tomorrow. If you want a copy of the deck or any other information, please use that email and they can send those out to you directly. So thank you all so much. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.